Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com. Your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. The Off the Hook podcast at offthehooksports.com or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you go for your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Off the Hook with Dave Hooker starts now.
Joined by Jacob Warren, as it is almost game week. For some teams, it is. Actually, if you're Vanderbilt, you're headed to Hawaii. So that's strange. But with Jacob, I'm Dave Hooker. And I want to remind you to hit that subscribe and like button so we can show up on your YouTube feed more often. Jacob's appearance is brought to you by Bassey Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive. More about Bassey Lawn and Garden and Toro. Count on it after this. And Jacob, you're here. I imagine you guys, just like media members and everybody else, get a little bit more excited, and it is right around the corner, especially with a Thursday night game.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you said, even with a Thursday night game, everything's kind of accelerated. You know, it's you look at the calendar and it's just about a week away, right? About a week and a half, and super exciting, obviously, getting into just thinking about playing someone other than your own teammates, right? Like we've been going against each other in spring ball and then in fall camp and competing against each other. And so it's exciting to finally get the opportunity and start preparing for someone else, I guess.
How much, if at all, do you do that? Look at an opponent the first 3 weeks in camp, or is it more just about self-evaluation, getting better?
Yeah, fall camp is truly just about us. It's about just working out all the little kinks that we're trying to get figured out and installing plays. That's where a majority of it is, just installing our playbook and making sure that everyone has reps of the plays that we're going to be kind of putting in based on whatever the defense or whatever teams we see on film that we feel like would be advantageous to run. So fall camp is strictly just us and just trying to get better. Alignments and assignments and details and technique. I do this about every time, don't I?
I lost your line again.
Back. But yeah, it's fall camp's obviously about us, and then once you get out of camp and get into the more like closer to the season, about 2 weeks out, and then you start focusing on the other guys.
How much of this offense can improve? And I don't want you to give anything away, but from a schematic standpoint. Because if I'm Josh Heupel and I walk in, I know Jacob Warren's strengths and weaknesses, and the same for every other player. And I'm also an offensive player that I step in, and I have a rough idea of what the philosophy is. It just seems like this offense could take I want to say quantum leap. I don't want to put too much pressure on you, but it seems like it could take a significant leap from year 1 to year 2 just based off knowledge.
Yeah, so what you mentioned at the beginning, kind of the coaches understanding us and us understanding the coaches, is now we've gotten to the point where, you know, say we're running a situation or something, call it 2-minute, or we're running third down situations or third and short, whatever. Like I kind of begin to think about, you know, what Coach Golich, what Coach Heupel is thinking about, you know, what plays might I anticipate that they're going to call and what reasons where they're going to call it. You know what I mean? So instead of just knowing that we run this play or they called that play and I'm going to run it, understanding as to why they're calling it, right? They see safety rotation or they've been seeing something in the defense for the past 2 drives, and we talked about it on the sidelines, and now it's time to go out there and actually make the adjustment and go capitalize on it, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing, that going into this next season is being able to have that firm understanding of the playbook and then being able to make adjustments and everyone being on the same page, rather than kind of being limited to just the cookie cutter, like this is the book, this is what the book says, run this route this way, you know what I mean? Because you get into before, but now you're able to say, okay, on this route, if the defender does this, I'm going to stop, I'm going to kind of settle, or I'm going to feel space in a zone, or things like that the quarterback and the receivers need reps on, need time, need a whole spring and a whole fall to really get under their belt. And now we have 2. So, right. So it's exciting to kind of just think about the opportunities in that way.
Is it, and please want to encourage people to hit subscribe and like so Jacob and I can show up on your YouTube feed more often. But is it an offense that after a year plus under your belt is a little bit more free flowing, perhaps than some other offenses you've been a part of? I don't want to undermine the discipline and everything that goes in with it, but it does feel
Right.
like you guys are allowed the opportunity to, freelance may not be the right word, but hopefully you get what I'm digging at here.
I think I kind of understand what you're saying. I think it definitely is an offense that the players are asked to go out and create plays. You're asked to go out and make something out of maybe not nothing, but capitalize on all the opportunities that you're given. And it involves a lot more thinking at the skill position than it would if, say, were you to just run some basic drop back pass where, like I said earlier, like the cookie cutter, right? Like this guy has a post, this guy has a dig, you have a flat, and that's it. Like there's no options, there's no adjustments, there's no hot checks. You know what I mean? There's just you're kind of stuck in the scheme, right? And this offense allows guys to, take that same scheme, whether it's a post and a dig or whatever, and if you see something and, just like you're playing in the backyard, like, okay, I'm open, let me stay here, or I'm not open, let me run the grass, let me go find space and just trust the quarterback to be on the same page and to throw you open, or to know that you're going to settle in that hole because he feels the zones too, right? Better than anybody else. He can see everything. So he sees something before we see it. And it's just a matter of us also seeing it and being on the same page in that regard.
Somebody told me that there were times that Hendon Hooker was correcting play calls from the coaches. It sounds like he's got a really good grasp of what's going on offensively.
He does. Yeah. He's, and they've given him the freedom to be like, hey guys, like this look is not like, I don't think we want to run it into this. Like I was looking at it and it like, give me something else, what I mean? Like change the play, please. Because like, he just can see that, whether it's the front that like the defensive linemen are in, or he can feel pressure coming off an edge and have the ability to check the play, or whatever it may be. It's cool to have a quarterback that's, one, smart enough, and two, that they trust enough to be able to take that into his own hands and make play calls.
So then he has more ability to do things at the line than he did in just a year. That's pretty crazy because this time a year ago, he wasn't even supposed to be the starter. That's pretty impressive.
For sure. And I mean, it's a lot of the stuff that they do is built into our offense. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily able to do. Obviously, I know that's not what you're saying either, but it's not necessarily like something that, they just have a higher order of thinking or whatever. It's just very, going into the second year, they've seen these concepts and they've seen what we do and they know what works and they know what doesn't. And they spend a lot of time with Halsley and with Golish and Hype, just talking about the most ideal situations to put us in. And as long as everybody's on the same page, like I said, like they trust him and they're the ones that have told him to do it and that I've taught him how to do it and when to do it. And so him just being a good listener and a good learner was able to pick it up, and hopefully it'll be really, really good for us this year.
Okay, so obviously protecting the passer is going to be key with this offense each and every year. It just happens to be you have a Heisman candidate that happens to be behind you. So I asked Cooper Mays this. I'm going to ask you the same question. How many sacks do you feel like were your fault last year that you said, "Oh, that's me. That's a Jacob"?
Yep. Can't hide from that one. I mean, there's definitely a couple times like you get in some sticky situations on the end just because, like these guys are getting paid, right, to go rush the quarterback essentially. And so, there's some times when you just got to kind of try to hold up against, a first, second, third rounder or whatever, these guys that are in this league that are really good players. And, sometimes you're able to, and sometimes you're not. Right. And so there was definitely a couple times. I remember one time at Florida, like it was just took a bad angle on my set and he got around me and got a hit on the quarterback, and it was a whole thing. And it's like, it's one of the most like frustrating, I guess, and like humbling things because like that's, I don't know, like there's different pride about your quarterback, right? Like you could hit my running back and like he's tough. Like the quarterback's tough too, but like that's the running back's job. Carry the ball, get hit, right? Obviously I want to protect all my players, but it's been so much of an emphasis, like, man, like that's my quarterback with the ball, right? Like no one's touching him, no one's hitting him, no one's like gonna hit him after the whistle. Like, you see all these videos and stuff of, someone taking a cheap shot on the quarterback and then the whole offensive line running and like confronting the guy, right?
Yeah.
And like that's so real, like that's really truly like how everyone feels about it, because that guy is, he's just another guy, but he's the most valuable player on the field for us, right? He leads everything. He takes charge of everything. So obviously protecting him is super important. But yeah, there's gonna be times when you get beat. It's about hopefully just him understanding that it's a mistake. He makes mistakes too, So obviously we pick him up and we're like, dude, I'm sorry. And he's like, bro, don't worry about it. Like, let's go to the next play. Let's go to the next play. Like, whatever. So
That's
yeah.
See, that's the thing, Jacob. Hendon seems like such a nice guy. I would really rather for the quarterback to, as I'm helping him up, say, "What the bleep were you doing? You really blew it there." I mean, be a jerk to me, and then I don't feel as bad about it.
No, yeah, he's very much a pat you on the. He's mad, like obviously he's not happy. Like you help him up, and he's not going to be like, "It's okay, buddy," you know what I mean? But
It's okay,
like he's not gonna right, like he understands, but obviously, I don't know, number one priority for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, as when you guys start to look at upcoming opponents, and do you look at the opener with Ball State? I'm sure that's the first thing you look at, but do you get any deeper into opponents, or is it clearly a one opponent at a time, like it gets to be in the middle of the season?
Yeah, it's definitely a one opponent at a time thing. I think just especially the way that we operate on offense is, every week we go into the week with a new game plan, a new set of plays or things tailored very specifically to the defense that we're playing or whatever we anticipate their scheme's going to be. So kind of looking forward and looking weeks ahead would really mess up the offensive players, at least the skill players, because we have different rules based on the week. It could be the same play, but I line up in a different spot. So if I'm jumping ahead to Pittsburgh or Florida, whatever, I could all it doesn't allow me to play as fast. So I think taking that week by week mentality and like, let's just focus on Ball State this week, and then let's focus on whoever, and let's focus on whoever, and then just keep rolling. I think that's the best way to do it as far as mentally being able to be ready for the game.
I know at the time of this taping, we're still more than a week away, but how much do you know, if anything, about Ball State right now?
I mean, obviously we all as like individuals go and are interested to go see like kind of what they look like, but we haven't gotten like super in depth as to their personnel and haven't watched a whole lot of film on their scheme and stuff like that. And we'll obviously get into that as we go and get closer to game week. But yeah, just right now, just trying to get the basics down, learning how to watch film effectively, coming up with different strategies to go throughout the week so that we're ready to mentally to play the game and understand what we're going against. So
You've spoken very openly about how you plan for this to be your last year, and even though you would have another year because of COVID remaining, curious what the butterflies might be like. What are you expecting out of that opening game as you go out there thinking, hey, this is my last time running through the tee, at least this season?
Yeah, no, I think just trying to understand that if you're a Christian, you believe in God, then you understand. Just trying to put my faith and my trust in God and just letting Him handle all the things. Right? He's been there. He already knows exactly what's going to happen, what my plan is, and I can't sit here and stress about it because He's told me that it's going to be all right. Right? Like He's already taken care of it. And so I'm just trying to practice that every day. Obviously, it's nerve-wracking because there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of things that can happen that can go wrong, right? But I'm just trying to do everything that I can every day to put myself in the best position. And then, as we go, obviously we'll see where it goes, but plan and expect to have a great season. So try not to get too nervous about it. But yeah, it is somewhat, I guess, sentimental in a way. My last fall camp ending and about to be the first game of the season, whatever. So it went through a similar thing in high school where it's kind of nerve wracking, and then you get into it, and it's just ball at the end of the day. So.
Good stuff for Jacob Warren. I'm Dave Hooker. The Ball Report is brought to you by Bassey Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive. Bassey Lawn and Garden. They have the industrial mowers. They have the commercial mowers. They have it all right there at Bassey Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive. They've got Toro. Count on it. He's Jacob Warren. I'm Dave Hooker. This is a production of Off the Hook Sports.